Picture this. It's the early 1900s, a small town right in the heart of America, Villisca, Iowa. You know the kind of place. Everybody knows everybody, kids are playing outside, doors are probably unlocked. The biggest thing happening all week? The Children's Day program at the church. It's the picture of peaceful, small-town life. Got in just one night. That picture, well, it wasn't just shattered, it was obliterated.
8. That's how many people went to sleep in this one little house on a summer night in 1912. And when the sun came up, all 8 were dead. And not just dead, they were brutally murdered in their beds. 6 of them were just kids.
So, yeah, that brings us to Villisca, Iowa, June 10th, 1912. This is ground zero for one of the most chilling, most bizarre, unsolved mysteries in American history. A crime so horrific, you can bet it still haunts that town.
So let's talk about that morning. It started out completely normal, just another Iowa morning, but at the Moore house, something was very, very wrong. A terrible silence that was about to turn into absolute horror.
And these are the people we're talking about, the Moore family, Josiah and Sarah, a respected, pretty well-off couple, and their kids, Herman, Catherine, Arthur, and little Paul, just 5 years old. And to make it even more heartbreaking, 2 of their kids' friends were having a sleepover that night, the Stillinger sisters, Lena and Inna. They'd all just been at a church event together. 8 people, 6 children, all sleeping in that one house. So how did anyone find out? Well, it all started around 7 in the morning. A neighbor, Mary Peckham, thought it was weird that the Moore house was so quiet. No chores, no noise, nothing. She goes over, tries the door, it's locked. Now she's worried, right? So she calls Josiah's brother, Ross. He's got a key. Ross gets there, unlocks the door, and the very first thing he sees are the bodies of the 2 little girls, the Stillinger sisters, in the guest room. And right then, he knew. He knew this was something terrible.
Okay, so what they found inside that house, it goes way beyond just a horrific murder scene. It was bizarre, full of these strange, really unsettling clues that honestly have left people scratching their heads for more than 100 years.
Get this, the killer didn't even bring their own weapon. The axe, the murder weapon, it belonged to Josiah Moore. It was his axe, from his own woodshed. The killer just walked in, picked up the family's own tool, and used it against them. And believe me, that's just where the weirdness starts.
First strange thing? Every single mirror in the house was covered. Yep, the killer took the time to go through and drape clothes or blankets over every mirror, every piece of reflective glass. Why would they do that? Was it some kind of superstition? Did they feel guilty? We have no idea.
Then there's the axe itself. The killer wiped it clean of blood, which, sounds like they're trying to hide evidence. But then they just left it there, leaning against a wall right there at the scene, in the same room as the Stillinger girls. Just left it behind.
And this might be the weirdest clue of all. Right there, next to the cleaned-off axe, investigators found a 4-pound slab of raw bacon. Yeah, you heard me. Bacon. He took it out of the icebox and just put it on the floor. What on earth does that mean?
And it just gets stranger. There was a huge gouge mark in the ceiling above the parents' bed, like from a wild, powerful swing of the axe. Up in the attic, they found 2 cigarette butts. This suggests the killer was hiding up there, just waiting for the family to fall asleep. In the kitchen, a basin of bloody water, where they clearly washed up before they left. And then there's Lena Stillinger. She had a defensive wound on her arm. She was awake. She tried to fight back. You see, every single clue just piles on more questions.
So you'd think with a crime this awful, the investigation would have been top-notch, right? Every detail preserved? But nope. What actually happened was total chaos. The search for the killer was pretty much doomed from the start.
This is going to sound crazy, but as soon as word got out, basically the whole town rushed over to the house. We're talking hundreds of people, just walking through the crime scene, touching things, contaminating everything. It was treated like a public spectacle. People were even stealing souvenirs. Can you believe it? Someone apparently even took a piece of Josiah's skull. Any real evidence that might have been there? Gone. Wiped out in just a few hours.
To put it mildly, the investigation was a complete disaster. The scene wasn't secured for hours. That axe, the murder weapon, it was literally being passed around by people looking at it. And it took nearly a whole day before the bodies were even moved for an autopsy.
I mean, by today's standards, this is just unthinkable. It really shows you how basic forensic science was back then, and it made an impossible case even more impossible.
But even with that mess of an investigation, a few interesting suspects did pop up over the years. And the list is, well, it's something straight out of a horror movie.
Okay, so who are they looking at? Well, you've got Reverend George Kelly, a traveling minister who is known to be a little off. He was in town that night, and he actually confessed at one point. Then you've got a powerful local politician, State Senator Frank F. Jones. He and Josiah Moore were serious business rivals, like they hated each other. Some people thought Jones hired a hitman, which brings us to William Mansfield, a guy suspected in a bunch of other very similar axe murders. And just to make things more confusing, there was another guy, Henry Lee Moore, no relation, who was a known serial killer who, used an axe.
So let's zero in on the two big ones, because they represent two totally different theories. On one side, you have Reverend Kelly. He's the disturbed local figure, the one who even confessed, though he took it back. This theory is all about a crime of sudden, violent madness. On the other side, you've got William Mansfield. He's the professional, maybe a serial killer, maybe a hitman. This theory suggests a cold-blooded, calculated murder. So, which is it? A madman or a hired gun?
So, after all that, the suspects, the trials, the wild theories, you know what the town of Villisca was left with? Nothing. No answers. Just a whole lot of questions. And with every year that passed, the case just got colder.
And here's the bottom line. Every single lead just fizzled out. Reverend Kelly went to trial twice, got acquitted both times. Frank Jones, the big shot rival, never even charged. William Mansfield, the hired killer, he had an alibi. Every single promising path led to a dead end. The case is, to this day, officially unsolved. This case is pretty much the textbook definition of a cold case. It's like a giant, horrifying puzzle where all the pieces are there. The awful crime, the super weird clues, the botched crime scene, a whole list of suspects, but they just don't fit together. There's no way to assemble them into a picture that makes any sense.
So that leaves us with the big question, right? Who did it? Was it the deranged minister acting on some dark urge? Was it a professional hit ordered by a business rival? Or, and this might be the scariest thought of all, was it just a random traveling serial killer who happened to be passing through Villisca that night?
And more than 100 years later, that's where we are. The mystery lives on. The house itself, it's still standing in Villisca. You can actually go visit it. They've kept it just like it was in 1912, a tourist spot for people who want to walk right into the middle of this American nightmare. In the end, there are no easy answers here, just a whole lot of theories and a very haunted house. It's a terrifying reminder that sometimes the absolute worst questions are the ones that never get an answer.